Welcome to another episode of Two Babies in a Business, where I am talking to some incredible women in my network all about this thing that we either fake or make balance in our career as women. And today I am honored to be sitting across the screen from someone who I consider an amazing role model, an amazing friend, and I only wish that we lived closer so that we could have a glass of wine more often. But Monica, tell us who you are.
Oh, thanks, Christina. This is such a fun opportunity. I think it's interesting to share who I am. I think I reflect back as to our connection, and you and I connected in the tourism world, obviously. At the time, I was a senior director with Tourism Kamloops in industry relations and communications, and really have a passion for community and for partnership and for collaboration and our stakeholders. Over the last couple of years, that role has transitioned, and I have the privilege and the honor of now leading the organization as CEO for the last 20 months. And from that, our relationship has certainly grown and ebbed and flowed, and forever grateful, Christina, for all of your support and your intelligence and your just camaraderie and friendship going through this. In my home life, I am a mom of two very busy teenagers. Certainly that middle lifer, 40 something fun girl, just trying to still figure out who the heck I am and what I need to be doing in life. And then most recently too, I'm, ebbing into a new world of entrepreneurship. And so I find, I'm really not too sure who I am in most moments, but I love to just kind of focus on what sets my soul on fire and lean into that, and continue to work with a focus of people and community and my love for tourism and hospitality.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like it's this cliche, like when you reach that age, but there is this, I think, middle life thing that we go through as moms. Like, I think there's this beginning of, you have the kids and who am I still? And maybe you're trying to figure that out, or you're just trying to be a mom. But, my kids are younger than yours, but I am finding that too. It's like, what does set me on fire? What are my passions? Where do I want to connect? And I feel like that's where you and I get along so well, is we have this very similar fire around community and building connections and having those conversations. And it's a very interesting, I think, moment for a woman. I feel like I think the stereotype is like the man goes through the midlife crisis and buys the convertible, but I feel like we maybe go through it and we like change our lives.
Yeah, I think, I was so scared to turn 40, and I won't divulge actually how far into my 40s I actually am, but I feel like I finally got a grip. This is good news. But the fear of turning 40, and when you think about your life and what you've set out to do, and I'm very much that person that had goals and aspirations and had a list, like kind of, this is where I need to be at this age, and so on and so forth. It was interesting because my 30s were career building, they were family building, they were all those things. And yet by the time I hit 40, I didn't feel like I had really achieved what I had set out to do. And so I laugh now. I go, geez, if I could do my 30s over again, man, I would knock it out of the park and do it well. I wouldn't take myself as seriously as I truly did. That's probably the biggest thing, is that decade I was just so serious and committed to doing all the things. And I think I lost sight of who I was during that. And so, that tip over to 40, once I got over the numbers, I just really leaned into embracing who I really am and bringing that trueness to life.
Nice. Yeah. So one question, good segue. I mean, one question I've been asking is around this brand. I think that it's something that's top of mind for many women these days. I've done a few speaking engagements where the top questions are, how do I build a brand? And how do I figure out what my brand is? So I'm curious, Monica, do you have a brand? Did you build that brand?
Yeah, I think it's so funny. Like in hindsight, when I reflect on the brand I was building, it was one of very much a dedicated, passionate professional, right? And somebody who was a champion for community, a champion for our tourism stakeholders, for the organization itself. I was very much aligned with the company I'm working for, and making that difference. And the interesting part is, I think the people that know me now are seeing, a different light. They're seeing maybe a more casual me, maybe a more tolerant me, maybe a more patient me, maybe somebody, yeah, like I think back of the seriousness of it all. And, I definitely, I think now it's more about fulfillment and gratitude and, yeah, just the realness of life, right? As opposed to this persona that you create, for acceptance, that maybe is, perfection driven, maybe is, not for you,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah. I think there's this whole interesting piece of what am I supposed to be? And I think that ends up maybe driving what we think our brands should be.
Well, and for me, it was really interesting. And I've only come to terms with this probably in the last handful of years, is that, I realized that I also was on a journey living the dreams of my parents that were unfulfilled. Going, I can do this, but I'm going, is this truly what I really want? And, I love my parents dearly, and they're very successful human beings and amazing. But at the same time, some of the things that I was doing, I'm like, am I doing this for me, or am I doing this for somebody else? And so I've really been able to kind of mull that over in my brain and kind of course correct, I guess, as you become more conscious and having those real conversations with yourself. So
Yeah. When do you think is the right time to start having those conversations? I mean, because I look at you built yourself an incredible career, right? Like as I look in from afar, you're a leader within your community. You're, to use that serious word again, you're taken very seriously. You have very important conversations on the regular. You've made a really great name for yourself, not only in Kamloops, but in the tourism industry in our country as a whole. And I think sometimes there's that, okay, I did what I'm supposed to do. Now I'm going to figure out what I want to do. But as you look back, and you said you wanted to have some more fun in your 30s, when do you think you should have had that conversation?
Oh, early on, like, just don't take yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
Let loose a little bit more, right? Like, wear the clothes you wanted to wear, right? Just, there was always this thought of who I needed to look like and act like and be like, right? And for those that truly know me, which I'll be honest, I mean, I have a small network of friends that they see more of my real colors these days than they did back then. But I was challenged to be relatable with my age group, I'll be honest, back in those moments, because I was so serious, and just, I was always worried about what other people thought and how they saw me, and was this a deviation from that public persona that, showed up regularly. And so, yeah, I mean, the ability just to have a good old belly laugh because it feels good. And just, yeah, I'm as silly as the rest of them, honestly. And to be able to just laugh openly because your silliness is amazing is such a good feeling. And so, yeah. So should I have had this conversation right from the get-go? And I even look back, honestly, I even look back through high school, and I was always this mature beyond my years kind of human. And, it served me well because it was my drive. But yeah, I mean,
That's why we get along too, right?
I
These
know.
high schoolers just overachieving, and then
Yeah.
they have to ask real questions.
Yeah, it's funny. And so, yeah, like, and how you push this forward, like, I look at my own kids, and I want them to do well, and I want them to be driven and focused, but at the same time be kids, right? Just, enjoy those very honest moments that overtake you, because they're amazing and they still are helpful to create what you're creating.
It's true. I feel like I look at my kids the same way. I mean, again, to your point, still love my parents, and there was some things I had to meet, and here's the report card, and if it's not at a certain level, ooh, that's bad. And I feel myself now as a mom, grade 2 report cards are, I feel like, all relative at this point, but I don't look at those marks. I read the comments, and yeah, Bart is a leader in class and is doing well, and Jake is doing these things, and it's very interesting to me to take a different perspective of those things, because to me it's like, okay, these are the people they're going to become, as opposed to, oh great, he's so good at math, let's just drill that into him for the next 15 years so he hates it when he's done.
Yeah. The challenge though, and this is the flip side, and I'm sure you'll find yourself in this place once your kids get older. I mean, my daughter Eva's graduating high school this year. She's in grade 12. And so it's pretty monumental in setting herself up for really what she wants next. And there's this place of worry for me, and it's that of complacency, right? It's, don't just get by for the sake of getting by. Make sure, if your 100% effort is warranting you a B plus, then that's fabulous. But if you're only putting in 50% and you're barely passing, there's an issue there, right? And so I don't like to fixate on marks, but I like to fixate on effort, and really that make sure you're giving it the steam it needs to get you to where you want to be next, right? And so it's interesting. And so when they're little like that, it's kind of like, enjoy those days of where the soccer field's way more important than the math test, right? But too, when you're transitioning from that teenage life into the adult world, it's you're going to get out what you put in, right? And
It's true.
yeah.
Okay, so your big transition from your adult life into your entrepreneur life. Sometimes I wonder if I'm an adult or not for doing it, but tell me about that transition and the conversations you had with yourself. Because I mean, again, I think you built this strong corporate stakeholder brand for yourself. And again, you're going to need some strong corporate and stakeholder relations as an entrepreneur, but it's a big change.
Yeah. And I'm not really, I'll be honest, at this point, I don't even know if I actually know what this means at this point. It's like those things that you lob into the universe, right?
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
I guess I'm doing this because now I've publicly committed to this. But I think, I'm a firm believer, when you know. And sometimes things hit you upside the back of the head with blunt force. Sometimes you trickle into these things. I mean, I've been doing my career for 20 some odd years now. I mean, I was so fortunate to go right from university into full-time work, doing destination marketing, working with communities, working with industry. And just so grateful for all the opportunities to move through that system and through those levels. And now be able to work as the leader in that space, and do that. But passions also change, right? And I think through my network of relationship building, especially with businesses, going through COVID, going through all the things we now face, and this is probably, I'm talking myself out of this, I'm sure at this point, but I just kind of go, I want to be on the other side. I want to truly appreciate the blood, sweat, and tears. I want to understand being part of that for-profit space. And I want to make a difference in that space. And so, I think, and my life has changed considerably over the last handful of years. And, I'm just in a place where I have a partner that I'm so excited to do this with. And I think that's big when you have that support and that, that partner that, for whatever reason wants to be as crazy as you and do these things. to share that together, I think is really amazing. And so all those stars have aligned in my life, and we've happened to find a business that, when we are in its presence, it sets our soul on fire, and we see the future. And and it works for where our family's at. It works for where the two of us are at. It still contributes to community in a different way. It still continues to build relationships in a new way. And I think the biggest thing for me is getting back to being consumer facing. And I haven't been for 20 some odd years. I mean, I was the girl that had the restaurant job through high school. I loved serving. I loved being that. My partner's in the hospitality field, and for him too, I mean, he's gone through the ranks of leadership and so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, we look forward to just being face to face with people that want to have an experience and want to share that with us.
I'm excited because I feel like I look at you too, and together or apart, I want to hang out with you guys. So to think about the adventure that you guys are going on, to find myself with you, sitting enjoying a cocktail, and you're bringing me that cocktail, and then you're casually sitting and having that conversation. I just think it sounds fun, and I think that when you know, and I think that there's something huge about the other side of the table. So for years, I sat on the other side of the table in corporate, right? Now I'm sitting on that agency side of the table, and I would wonder, what's the agency doing today? Or I just spent all this money from my budget. Like, when am I going to see that thing? Or did they get it? And so now to be able to sit on that side of the table after I learned so much in that corporate career, and be here and be able to say, I am going to do things differently. And I learned a hell of a lot over there. So now I can, build the right team or build the right systems and processes. And I think that, again, with that community building at the core, or sharing stories at the core, you're able to do that from the other side of the table quite seamlessly. And, frankly, there's a little more.
The other piece of this for us too is, I mean, knowing my partner and I, our dedication to career and building ourselves through that, there was a lot of sacrifice of family in that. And so this next step puts family at the core. And, for both of us, it's what we need to do, and it's what we want to do, to continue to build those relationships with our kids. And show them what hard work looks like, and be that role model for them in that space without sacrificing our relationships with them. The business invites them to be part of, that journey, whatever they choose to do in that space. That opportunity is there. And so, when we reflect on this change for us, it's truly the solution for us to carry on the work that we've been doing for the last handful of years, to reconnect with our kids, truly be honest with ourselves, and still, be in a space that we truly love. And but just from a different angle.
Yeah. Okay, good segue into this kind of what does society expect from us? Because I feel like that, we talk about this entrepreneur life, which I joke that I quit my 40-hour-a-week job so I could have an 80-hour-a-week job. Lucky me. But to your point, I did it for balance. I did it so I could start a family, and I could, have some control over that piece. As we look at kind of what the working mom is supposed to look like in the media, what do you think? Do they have it right? Are they getting there? What's behind the curtain?
I don't know. All I know is, like, to speak from my side, Christina, and this is like, you inspire me on this. And I think it's really what do I need it to look like? And, I really realized that prioritizing me is okay. And it's a good thing. And, I've been so grateful, like my current organization. We've prioritized flexibility finally in that space, but I mean, it only has come to fruition since COVID, right? That was that force. And when I look at the journey I've been on, it was about me, but it wasn't always for me at the core, right? I mean, I sacrificed my health, my well-being, right, all these things, putting everybody else first. And we can't be our best selves unless we prioritize ourselves. And so for, what is that magic formula? I haven't figured it out, I'll tell you that much. And I certainly, like, consistency is the bane of my life. Like, I have a good run and then it's 2-week hiatus. So you got to shake yourself and get back on the track, right? But I think the ability to imagine a life where you're peaceful, your heart is full, your body feels well, your mind feels well, your relationships are good, especially with your partner and your family. That's where I'm headed. And I say headed because I don't think you ever arrive there. It's, complete work day in, day out. And as we look at our next step and our new business and all those things, it's not about the business is the result of all the good work that we are doing in and amongst ourselves.
I love that. I think that's a powerful, again, I mean, back to your first point, right? Letting someone else define where you should be, how success feels, when really I do think that, like, maybe the secret is, like, success just feels like you're at peace. Like, I love that.
Yeah. And like I said, I'll let you know when I get there.
Yeah, me too.
If ever. But I think, yeah, I know what it feels like to feel good.
Yeah.
And I also know what it feels like to not feel good. And it's not linear. It's definitely an up and down and sideways and all over the place. But, remember what it feels like to feel good and continue to work towards that.
Yeah. I think that's such a powerful point for women too, because I think so many of us work ourselves, and professionally and personally, we work ourselves into this really unhealthy place. And, I think most of us hit rock bottom and then end up building ourselves back up. But to your point, if we could have more of these conversations about, hey, what's your success? What do you want to be? What sets your soul on fire? I think that, probably I don't know, maybe the whole health industry would thank us for not being such a burden in our midlife.
Totally. And I think about, we talk about what would you tell your 30-something self? It would be more of that, right? And for me, it's, lifestyle changes and, making sure that, I'm first on that list.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not, and like I said, I've been in those situations where when I'm not healthy, I'm not good for anybody or anything. Yeah. And coming out of that is difficult. And so,
it's true.
Those are the pieces. So, yeah.
True. Okay. So you gave your 30-something-year-old self some advice. What advice would you give other working moms that are trying to build that brand, that are trying to find their way? What would you tell them?
Oh, really, really think about what's most important to you. Because there's a lot of noise out there and you can get pulled in every direction. And so, think about your authentic self. And authenticity, like I said, doesn't include perfection. It doesn't include, right, exhaustion. It doesn't include chaos. Think about those, who you are at your best and most peaceful. And really, I find that's the brand that resonates the most, that relatable piece. I think of all the networking events you go to, the interviews that you do, the profiles that are written. And historically, it's not truly me. Like it's really that shell, that exterior. And I think this world needs more authenticity, more authentic relationships, more hard conversations like this, Christina, more let's not take ourselves so seriously. it's so cutthroat out there. And I think some of my best work has happened in my most vulnerable spaces.
Hmm.
And yeah, I have real conversations with people. We are human beings, and life isn't one track. Life isn't just my career. Life is all the things, and they're all influential into how we show up every day. And it's not easy. I mean, people do, you have your story is a compilation of all of your experiences, and for some it's difficult. They've had hard lives, and it's not been easy. But I think being able to relate on a level that is not superficial creates incredible opportunities for go forward, in my mind.
It's true. And I feel like it's in those moments that you create bonds and, skill sets and all the things that actually do bring you forward in life that you take with you, as opposed to, those moments where you maybe feel or thought you were at the top of your game and maybe just a little garbage in, garbage out. And
yeah, and it was really interesting. Something that was pretty poignant. I came across a YouTube video not too long ago about a convocation speech. And this girl was graduating from university with her degree. And it was really interesting. She said, what if we were a world that introduced ourselves as to who we are and not what we do? And so, it's, instead of introducing you, Christina, as agency owner, on and on and on, you were, Christina is vibrant and passionate about communications. She's a great mom. And, I'm inspired by her commitment to health and wellness, and those kind of, that becomes that introductory piece, not the label of your job.
I love that.
And I think the more that we can trans into that space of sharing who we are as human beings and not our job titles, it creates a space, that is as grounded in wellness and human
I love
relationships.
that.
So anyways, just something that I don't have it nailed, but it's something I aspire to lean in, because I think when you spend enough time with people, truly getting to know who they are allows you to have a better, deeper relationship.
It's true. I mean, I look at, even from the professional perspective, I always am trying to debunk, okay, what's the formula for the perfect client? But it's the relationship. It's that built on trust and vulnerability, and being able to make mistakes together, but also being able to lift each other up, and, not just, okay, here's that press release you wanted. It's also about getting to know the person and becoming part of the network. And, I think that we forget that, right? In a world where hi, I'm the PR professional. You think that's it, but I think you and I built an incredible relationship on, sushi and wine, where we were just, hey, we're Monica and Christina, and we're going through a lot of the same shit.
Yeah. And we're girls that are passionate about what we do. And, how do we lift each other up to do better? Right. And look at things different. Yeah. I mean, the standing joke in my office is, Monica knows too much about everybody. And so the funny part is like, I found myself in very awkward positions, because I don't think people are really comfortable divulging their real selves a lot of the times. And so I really appreciate when people share their kids' names with me, or share, some personal details. And, that's the standing joke, is just ask Monica. She has a Rolodex of who their kids are, when their birthdays are, and, anyways, on and on and on. But for me, that's important, because that connects us on a level that isn't superficial. Like I do care. I care how you are. I care how your family is. And in this world, I don't find there's enough space for that. Mm-hmm. And people just want to be hard, not competitive business conversations. And I'm going, that's fine in a time and a place, but for me, it gets old.
Yeah, it's so true. I feel like I'm gonna take a line from my husband and talk about AI, but I feel like that's going to be the strength of people and leaders. And
Agreed.
AI is going to disrupt the world, just like social media disrupted the world. And, the one thing that kind of continues to reign true is it doesn't have the ability to create relationships, to get to know us on deeper levels. And I think there's real power in that for a woman looking to build a brand and looking to differentiate herself in whatever industry. But that human connection, there's nothing that can beat that.
No. And I think, when there's an appreciation and an understanding of where people are at, it allows us to do better business, have harder conversations, have, more, just a really great place where, that it's safe to be vulnerable.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks, Fawn. I feel like have the hard conversation with yourself earlier rather than later. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Be the leader that people want to talk to and gravitate to. And, have fun. Be silly.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to do crazy things.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see how far you're going to go next. And I'm, you have me hanging on for life. So
awesome. Well, hopefully the next time we do this, we do it on location, just a sneak peek, maybe on a dock with a cup of coffee first thing in the morning. So
I love it. Oh, maybe it's like a whole new themed. Now I'm building your brand as the PR. Monica's Dockside Conversations coming to a podcast player near you.
That's right. The ducks and the loons will have to keep it down so we can have a good conversation.
I'm there.
Sounds amazing.
Thanks, Monica.
Thanks, Christina.
Thanks for joining me, Christina Pilarski, for another fantastic episode of Two Babies in a Business. I hope that you'll follow along with me on my journey as a mom on Instagram, Two Babies in a Business. And I hope that you'll sign up for our newsletter. You can find the link in the show notes or on my Instagram. And finally, if you're a mom with a story to share, I want to hear from you. Please reach out to me, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you.